Started. Welcome everyone. We're glad to have you guys here. Thanks for taking the time out of all your busy days and schedules to attend this workshop. So without further ado, let's get started. So first off, we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So hi everyone, my name is Isabel. I'm a second year and I'm specializing in accounting, and I'm one of the committee members on the events team at RCSA.
Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. I'm a third-year student specializing in finance and economics, and I'm also a member of RCSA Events Committee.
So this is just a brief agenda. We're going to be talking about our resumes, then cover letters, and then we're going to have our one-on-one breakout sessions. So let's get started with resumes. So what is a resume? A resume is a marketing tool that showcases your most recent and relevant experiences and your transferable skills. So here is where you share obviously your most recent relevant experiences, and you want to make sure that what comes at first and at the top is most important. Here, recruiters will generally scan and not read in depth your resume. This is where you have to make sure that you're very clear and concise and you're tailoring your resume to every opportunity. And these AI system pre-screens are generally more geared towards the larger corporation jobs, such as like BMO, RBC, because they have so many candidates, they have AI screening. But if you're applying to internships at this club and at the other RC clubs, generally we'll have our hiring managers read your resumes straight through, and we won't have those AI systems. So this is just a general template. We want to make it clear that this is just our best practice suggestions. Obviously, you can make your resume however you want it to and tailor it to every opportunity that you're applying to. And this is just kind of our suggestions for these resumes. So first up, we have our top heading. This is where you have your name, your phone number, your email address, LinkedIn profile. Generally, we recommend that you do set up a voicemail system just in case they call you and you don't answer. You can notice that we went straight into education instead of having a qualifications or a summary like highlights. People used to do this. Nowadays, we don't recommend it as much just because we want to tailor every resume to the job posting. But if you do choose to do that, just make sure you have 3 to 4 qualifications, not more, just make sure that you want to keep it short because you generally want to keep your resume around 1 page long. So because we're all students, sorry. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So because we're all students, we want to keep it on education, and we want to have that the first portion of your resume. Employers want to know that whether you're in school, when you're graduating, if you're going to be going back to school after your summer internships. So this is where you put your school, University of Toronto, in Commerce, your expected graduation date and month, and year. And then you'd have your major, any minors you're pursuing. And then these points at the bottom kind of are optional. So you can put your GPA, any awards you've won, scholarships, things like that. It's really up to you what you want to include in there. So next we have our work experience. So here, a lot of you guys I know are first year, so maybe you don't have work experience like this example here with the RBC and Bank of China. So instead of work experience, a lot of times people can put relevant experience. So that's really anything that you can kind of pinpoint or showcase your transferable skills. This is why it's really important to highlight those. And just include, what you did and how it relates to the job that you're applying to. So here's when we want to make use of our accomplishment-based statements. So these are where you write what you did, how you did it, and then the results. So just to delve a little deeper into that. So what is like, what did you do? You want to lead with a strong action verb for your primary skills. Don't say like duties included or responsible for, just say what you did. Then how did you do it? I think that's kind of self-explanatory. You want to showcase your skill development and your subsidiary skills that were involved. And then finally, what were the results? So this is where you can be kind of more qualitative or quantitative. If you see at the bottom line, we have increasing software development efficiency by 20%. So that's more of a quantitative how, and you can, result. And you can kind of just include that if you do have a number and a result But if you don't have that, obviously don't do that. Don't make up a number. So this is where you can say more qualitative, like what the results were. Maybe you just increased efficiency by doing this. So next, we have our co-curricular experience. This is kind of in place of just anything else you want to include. I know that here it says extracurricular experience as our example, but generally we don't recommend doing that anymore, just because when you put extracurricular, it kind of feels like you kind of did it on the side. It's not really a main project of yours. So you put co-curricular. You could also do leadership experience, volunteer experience, project experience. It's really up to you, whatever you want to include in there. And this is where you also include your accomplishment-based statements once again, and just make sure you're highlighting the skills that the employers are looking for. So if they're looking for leadership, just explain how you maybe demonstrated that skill in your director of business development job or volunteer experience. And then next we have our skills and interests. So here the skills would be like technical ones, no professional or soft skills. Those are where you would say it in the accomplishment-based statements and the experiences. So technical skills like Excel, PowerPoint, if you know any programming languages like Python, anything like that, maybe any languages like English, or here it says Cantonese, any of those. And then also you want to include how good you are, like so it says fluent or working proficiency, just so that employers know. And then finally we have interests. So people may wonder why we are including interests. It's more for potential conversation starters. It doesn't really need to be relevant to the job, like how you read business news on your free time. I mean, if you do that, that's great, you can put that, but it's more for like just for them to get to know you, and it's a demonstration of who you are as an individual and a candidate. Just make sure that it is true, so when they do start a conversation, you can actually talk about it. And then this is kind of, so the right side is more what you want your resume to look similar to. You can see that the improvement, it's just easier to read. You have more information about every experience that you have, and it's just more clean looking. And then overall, you can also see the headings are like at the top, middle. That's just what you want to make it look more like, but it's really up to you guys how you want to kind of make it visually. And then here are just some general resume tips. So because we're in Canada, we don't do any pictures or headshots in our resumes. Make sure that it's very professional. You want to pay attention to detail. Don't make it look don't show laziness, because these are your potential employers. So they really want to make sure that you are paying attention and you are professional. Don't highlight anything you cannot speak to. So this is just saying, as in, I know people may have questions when you're asking about lying versus exaggerating on your resume. Don't lie. Just make sure that whatever you say and whatever you write about, you can actually speak to, and you're not taking things out of thin air. So when they ask you about it, you can actually talk about it in depth. Keep it to one page. Don't include an objective. The employers know why you're sending them their resume. It's because you want the job. They already know that. You don't really need to include that. Tailor your resume to the job. So a lot of times you could have maybe one large resume with all your potential, all your resume tips and just like your experiences, and then whatever job you're applying to, you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to include in that specific resume. And then you also want to show, like it says here, job posting says must have experience with Excel. Show that you have experience with Excel and how you worked with it. And then make sure you have a good balance of text and white space. And then you use the same contact header for both the resume and cover letter. And now I'm going to pass it on to Olivia to talk about cover letters.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Now let's focus on how to write a proper cover letter. First, let's introduce some general concepts. A cover letter is an introduction of ourselves based on what we build on our resume. Some people don't consider it important and spend non-trivial time working on it. But what I want to highlight here is that cover letter is an important part of our applications. It is often reviewed much later in the recruitment process by the hiring manager once we've been shortlisted. And imagine that there are tens of candidates' applications now put in front of HR's table. All of you are equally qualified for your previous experiences and skills. Cover letter matters and provides you an opportunity to demonstrate your personal brand and make you stand out from the list. So paying attention to writing a clear and concise cover letter is crucial. Also, during the process of reviewing cover letters, grammar, spelling, and formatting mistakes are easily found. So make sure to avoid those small but vital mistakes and make the overall look of your cover letter look good. Okay, now let's talk about how to draft our cover letters. There are mainly three parts: introduction, body paragraph, and concluding paragraph. First, introduction paragraph. It usually includes who you are, how do you want to introduce yourself, and then why you are interested in this role, and also this company or the student group. Followed by this, state why you are qualified. Here, we should mention the key skills and qualifications we have that match their needs. This is considered to be our thesis statement of the whole paper. Then we go to the body part. This is usually 2 to 3 paragraphs maximum, exemplifying your relevant experience and skills to support your thesis. And normally, one paragraph corresponds to one relevant experience and 1 to 2 skills. It can be academic, volunteer, teamwork, and paid work, etc. State how these concrete examples relate to this position, and remember, also focus on contributions you can make versus how you would benefit if you hire. Besides that, show your interest and understanding of this organization. Prove that you've done the research about them and what appeals to you. For example, I applied for the roles at Google because I strongly value their flexible work environment. And also, we can share knowledge of the employer's current programs, products, or initiatives. For instance, some organizations have diversity programs or specific programs targeting women. And after finishing all these, we can go to write our conclusion paragraph. This is always simple and short. It is to thank the employer for considering your application and highlight that you are a qualified person again. Also, indicate your interest in further discussing your suitability and initiation for an interview. So this is the general procedure for drafting our cover letters. Now let's take a look at some specific examples to get a clear idea. Here's an example of the beginning and introduction paragraph of an applicant's cover letter. And before we take a deep look at the content, there's a blue rectangular note on the right that we need to keep in mind. The standard size of a cover letter is usually 3/4 page and do not exceed 1 page. Otherwise, it would take the reviewer too much time on reading it, and we don't expect that. Okay, let's read from the first one. Starting from your top in a black bold and usually Times New Roman font. Sorry, but this example doesn't use it. So your top should be consistent with what is written in your resume. And then we put the company information on the left and the application date on the right. Here, it mentions the manager's name, but in most cases, we probably don't know the names, which means we don't have to include it. And some people may ask if physical addresses of the company need to be included. The answer is no. Back in the time when people mail cover letters, physical addresses are important, but they are not required anymore these days since we use electronics to contact. Followed by that, we do need to include the regard line, the name of the position, and if needed, also the job ID. And then we go to read Jay's introduction paragraph. Dear Mrs. Johnson. Still, if we don't know the manager's name, just simply say, Dear Recruiting Manager. And followed by that, the first sentence is just a brief introduction of who Jay is by expressing his academic background and his general interests. And the second and the third sentence gives a clear idea of where he arises his interest. Here it says he got a chance to speak with Karen, the manager of marketing and communication. Actually, we can be a little more specific here. We could say which special points Karen mentioned that arises Jay's interest in this position. And then we go to the last sentence, which is the thesis statement. Here it highlights the relevant experience and the transferable skills that will match their needs for this position. So this is how our introduction looks like. Now we go to have a look of our body paragraph. So here it tells 2 relevant experiences, the student group and an internship at a museum. And both of them mention the transferable skills that can be employed for the position. Here it says the marketing and digital skills. And now let's have a look at the second body paragraph. Next slide, please. Yes. It includes another experience as a work-study student and its duties, and again, the relevant skills that match the position. So from what we can see here, the 2 body paragraphs use experiences to support skills mentioned in the thesis successfully. And this is generally what we want for our body paragraphs. And now we go to our conclusion paragraph. So here we don't have to add any new information. It is basically to conclude the relevant skills and highlight that you are a qualified candidate one more time. And remember that to express an initiation for the further interview. So this is generally how a cover letter looks like. As you can see, it is always short, but very clear and concise. And finally, we want to give some tips on writing the cover letters. Remember to address the right person if we know the name, and mention the right people and association. And next, there are some suggestions regarding the formatting. Remember to use the same contact header for both resume and cover letter, and avoid the colors or random bolding. And always keep the cover letter within 1 page. As mentioned before, 3/4 page is the standard size. Always stick to Times New Roman font and go as small as size 10, but no smaller than that. We don't want our cover letter looks like an essay. It's just too time consuming to read that. And last, remember to have a good balance of text and white space. So this is all the suggestions regarding writing a good cover letter. Now let's hand over to Sophia and announce some fun activities.
Thank you, Olivia. So this is a quick reminder for all of you that the deadline to apply for intern positions is fast approaching. I'm sure all of you are here because you're interested in perfecting your application, so don't forget to submit. And of course, all of us at RCSA would love to receive your lovely perfected resume and cover letters. So you can submit on the RC portal by September 29th at midnight, and the job ID is listed there, so don't forget. And we also wanted to let you know that RCSA is hosting our annual RC President Panel next week, Tuesday, September 27th. This is a great opportunity for you to meet face-to-face, network, and connect with the presidents of many of the RC clubs we're sure you're interested in, which is especially useful ahead of intern hiring coming up. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be snacks, so be sure to come out, get your face out there, and see all the amazing things that the RC clubs have to offer you. So you can sign up on the RC portal starting Friday, so mark your calendars and keep your eye out for that posting. And we look forward to seeing you there. And lastly, be sure to keep up to date with RCSA on all of our socials to hear all about all the things that we're doing. And now I'll pass it off to Jenny to introduce our lovely upper year representatives.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Sophia. Just in case you need a point of reference later, we have recorded the session and we'll be posting it to our website. And don't worry, we will send you the link and everything else you need in an email after the event. And on that note, moving right along to the highly awaited one-on-one session that you are all likely waiting for. These are our amazing upper year representatives from Career Peers and RCSA who have been through all kinds of hiring cycles and have clearly succeeded with flying colors, and they will each be waiting in excitement for you guys in a breakout room in just a few minutes. And as you can see,